We've all seen a tree, right? But do we really truly know what a tree is? That's the kind of question that fascinated Aristotle. He came up with this incredible theory about how we go from just perceiving the world around us to actually grasping its true essence with absolute certainty. So let's dive into his quest for knowledge. It really all kicks off with a paradox. And think about it for a second. Any system of proof has to start somewhere, right? With some kind of fundamental truth. But how do you prove that first truth? You can't, not without needing an even earlier one. It's a total brain bender, and it's the exact problem that got Aristotle's wheels turning. So to solve this puzzle, Aristotle first had to imagine what a perfect system of knowledge would even look like. And his inspiration? Well, he found it in a surprisingly elegant place: geometry. Yeah, Aristotle was just blown away by geometry. He pictured all of science working just like it. You start with just a handful of unshakable, self-evident truths, we call them axioms, and then from there, you logically deduce everything else. And what's the result? Well, you get this perfect, airtight system where every single piece of knowledge rests on a completely flawless foundation. But, that beautiful vision of a perfect system, it immediately slams into this massive philosophical roadblock, a dilemma that really threatened to bring the whole structure crashing down. And here it is. Here's the dilemma. If those first principles are truly first, then by definition, they can't be proven. They have to be, indemonstrable. Okay, fine. But if you can't prove them, how in the world can you be absolutely certain they're true? Without that certainty, the entire system you build on top of them starts to get dangerously wobbly. Aristotle saw this leading to a couple of dead ends, right? These two logical traps. First, you could fall into an infinite regress, where every proof needs another proof, which needs another proof, forever and ever, with no starting point. Or you get stuck in a circular argument, where A proves B, which proves C, which, well, it just proves A again. Neither one gives you that solid, certain ground he was looking for. So how did Aristotle get out of these traps? His solution is honestly, it's brilliant. It's not about some fancy, abstract logic. Nope. It's all about a journey that our own minds take from the messy, chaotic world of our senses to the pure essence of an idea. He called his method induction, but we gotta be really careful here. This is not modern scientific induction. That's all about observing patterns to predict how things work, like how an apple falls from a tree. Aristotle was hunting for something much, much deeper. He wanted to understand the fundamental what of a thing, what makes an apple to begin with. To even start this journey, Aristotle said we have this kind of sixth sense. He called it the sensus communis. Now hold on, this is not common sense, like knowing not to touch a hot stove. It's a fundamental power in our minds that takes the flood of data from your eyes, your ears, your hands, and weaves it all together. It's what lets you look at an orange, feel its peel, and smell its scent, and know you're experiencing one single object. Okay, so here's the full path he laid out. It all starts with sensation. Our senses grab the form of an object, its color, its shape, its smell, without actually absorbing the physical stuff. Then memory kicks in, holding onto and collecting all these sensations. Over time, all these different memories of this dog, that dog, every dog you've ever seen, organize into one unified experience of what you might call dogness. And then comes the magic. The final step, intuition. This is that aha moment. It's not a logical puzzle you solve. It's a direct grasp where your mind just sees the universal essence of what it truly means to be a dog. Aristotle used this really powerful military analogy to explain it. Just picture an army in a full-blown retreat. It's just a chaotic flood of soldiers running everywhere. That's kind of like the chaos of our raw sensations. But then, one soldier stops and makes a stand. Then another joins him, and another, until the entire army has regrouped into its original orderly formation. Aristotle says our soul has this exact same power, to stop the chaotic flood of experience and find the stable, universal pattern hiding inside it. Now, this incredible ability, it isn't magic. For Aristotle, it's a fundamental capacity that's built right into the blueprint of the human soul. It's what makes us, us. It's what separates us from all other living things. And this is where he really takes a sharp turn away from his famous teacher, Plato. See, Plato believed we're born with all knowledge already packed inside us, and that learning is just recollecting it. Aristotle? He basically said, no way. He argued we aren't born with the answers. We're born with a potential intellect, a raw capacity for understanding that just lies there, dormant, waiting for life and experience to switch it on. So here's the big takeaway from that.
Every time you learn something new, you're not just downloading information into your brain. You are actively transforming your own mind. You're taking that passive potential you were born with and turning it into an active, actualized power. For Aristotle, learning is literally the process of becoming who you were always meant to be.
So we have this incredible capacity to move from just seeing to truly knowing. But so what? Why does any of this matter? Well, this is where it all comes together. This is the ultimate payoff. Because for Aristotle, this whole theory of knowledge isn't just some intellectual game. It has one single profound purpose: to teach us how to live a good life.
This is the crucial connection, the point of it all. Aristotle's theory of knowledge is the absolute foundation for his ethics. For him, you simply cannot understand how to live a good life until you first understand how you acquire true knowledge in the first place. The two are completely, totally intertwined. And the goal of that good life is something Aristotle called eudaimonia. Now, we often translate this as happiness, but honestly, that's a pretty misleading translation. It's not about feeling pleasure or some fleeting moment of joy. Eudaimonia is about human flourishing. It's a state of being where you are actively living up to your highest and most unique potential as a human being.
And what is that unique potential? What's our human superpower? It's our capacity for reason. The very same thing that lets us go on that journey from sensation to knowledge. So Aristotle's final, ultimate conclusion is this: the supreme good, the most flourishing life possible for a person, is a complete life guided at every single turn by reason, using that incredible power of intellect not just to understand the world, but to navigate it with virtue.
So that kind of leaves us with a big question for our own time, doesn't it? In this age where we are just drowning in information, but maybe starving for wisdom, is Aristotle's ancient quest for an unshakable, certain foundation for knowledge, is that still a noble goal we should strive for? Or has it just become a fool's errand?